If you have anything on the agenda, be sure to follow up and go to the city council meeting, which is tomorrow, I guess. And we're advisory, they make the final decision. Sometimes most of the time they follow what we say, but not always. So that would be good. We're made up of citizens of Mexico Beach on a volunteer basis. And we do need 2 more volunteers for our board. We've had some openings come up. So if you or any of your friends are interested, please call Mario at the town hall and he can give you the specifics. There's a short application you fill out, very short process, and typically then the council would approve you to be on the board, and we'd be happy to have you. And Mario, if anybody has any questions when they call you about what their duties would be and responsibility, you're welcome to talk to me also. You can call me. So, okay, so let's call the roll first.
Miss Lindsay?
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Here.
Mr. Driver?
Here.
Mr. Masters?
Here.
Miss Miller?
Here.
One other thing, the meeting was originally scheduled for July 5th. We'd like to move that meeting to the 12th, July 12th, for our next meeting, based on availability of members, and that being a holiday week. So please let the minutes reflect that. Speaking of minutes, we've got the minutes in the package from the last meeting. I went through them and looked at them. Only thing I saw is that we had, I think we had Alex as a member, and I don't know whether he was for that meeting or not technically. He wasn't there, so we'll probably find. But just for future minutes on that. Okay, can we have a motion to approve the minutes, or if anybody else has it? Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, first on the agenda is ordinance number 764. Marlon, do you want to explain this one to the group, or kind of give us an overview?
Sure. Meeting before last, I don't think it was your last meeting, meeting before last, y'all approved, no, it was your last meeting. It was where we were combining lots.
Right.
And in combining lots, if it was a simple combination, it gave staff the ability to make that combination. In that language, it had a small discussion on lot splits. It was not 100% clear. So, in abundance of caution, we brought it back to the council, because what this is proposing is, if the lot was originally platted as 2 lots, and that's the key, it was platted as 2 lots and was ever combined for tax reasons or any other reason, and a hurricane hit and demolished everything that was there, and you had 2 legal lots that you wanted to split and sell as 2 separate lots, and it was already a platted lot that way, so it's not adding any density to the community, then it's something that council felt that I should have the ability to do that without having to go through all these steps again. The density is already taken into account. The lot is already a buildable lot. The reasons why I would deny them are if one of the lots has a non-complying use, like a garage, and this one has a house on it, this would be a non-compliant use. I would not approve that because it has a non-compliant use. If the 2 lots were completely empty, I'd approve it. If the 2 lots went separated and still had a legal home on one and vacant on the other, we could do it. But if the other lot has a utility, a garage, a pool, something that is accessory that doesn't have primary, then I would say not to until it came to y'all. And again, you could see where if somebody were selling it, acknowledging that it was non-compliant and building a home on it, then they would make it compliance. But again, that's taking that extra step, and it would require y'all's approval.
It also saves the homeowner the dollars to come.
It's $400 to come through this in the time.
In the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And you said it had been previously platted that way.
Correct.
And so you're asking us to approve
Yeah.
again this
Yes,
ordinance?
yeah. This is, keep in mind, the other one was to combine them, this one is to split them.
Okay. Well, I don't see a problem with it, so I move to accept the ordinance as it's been presented to us, ordinance 764.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, David seconds. Call the roll when you're ready.
Miss Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Driver,
Yes.
Mr. Masters,
Yes.
Miss Miller.
Yes.
Okay.
In abundance of caution, number 4 and number 5, I need to take off.
You needed to
Take both of those off.
both of those off. Okay.
One,
Reschedule.
one is because we mailed out assuming it was one address and it was a different address, so there's probably 4 or 5 owners that didn't get notified. That's on number 4. And on number 5, it is a land use change, and according to state statutes, we have to advertise that for 10 days in the News Herald. So because that did not get advertised, it'll have to go on the next planning board meeting.
Okay. That's fine.
The address on that is,
The address on that is 114 12th Street. And
July
I'm
12th.
very sorry for that, but again,
July 12th.
yeah, I'll have it read.
Okay. So we're up to number 6. Remember my numerals right?
Commercial development.
Commercial development order 103 34th Street. Gina, you want to give us a executive summary of what this is about?
This is a new triplex going in on a vacant property. They've turned everything in to meet all the land development code criteria, with the exception of the rear setback that is not being met. They could definitely do some modifications to meet that. The finished floor elevation requirements aren't exactly right on there either. They can also do something to fix that. So my recommendation was that you guys could vote on it contingent upon those things getting resolved. The only other issue I had was that they provide the appropriate number of parking spaces, but they're stacked single file. So the person in Unit 3 is going to be blocked in by the people in Unit 2 and Unit 1, which, if they're rentals, you probably don't know those people, and that seems like a poor design.
Very poor.
So it wasn't like an LDR requirement, but definitely a design issue that I thought needed to be addressed.
So, the way the parking places are stacked or not, it's not a requirement.
I couldn't find anything in the requirement of how they are to be stacked like that. In theory, I mean, it works. They provide the appropriate number of parking, and they can get there. It's just that, what's going to happen is they're just going to pull out on 98 the way they're laid out.
And half of them are probably going to park on the side of the road. This
Right,
doesn't work
and
for me, we'll park out here.
Yeah. So it's just a bad design, and I think they need to resolve that.
I think there is a provision for not backing out on the 98.
There is, and that's why they have it, I think, the way they do, because it forces them to go out onto the side
In
street
this
there.
plan,
But
you
the
can see
reality
that.
is they're going to go out on 98 the way it's laid out.
This drawing.
Okay, so I think we need to address that as part of this as well,
Yes.
because it is in there.
Let me open the public part, which I failed to do, no, my fault. Is anybody here representing this property to talk about this parking issue and the other two? Okay. Does anybody in the audience have any comments on this before we?
Where is this?
This is 103 34th Street.
It's the corner of 34th and 98.
Okay, we'll close the public part.
Wait, is
Oh.
this, sorry, I was trying to shut my phone off. Is this, the tourist commercial property?
Yes.
Tourist commercial?
Tourist commercial.
Okay. I'm gonna go on record as objecting to it because it's tourist commercial. Y'all know my song and dance here.
Okay.
But I don't think it should be used for residential.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, close the public portion and go back to the board.
It seems like to me that there's a lot of problems with this. I mean, I see three,
Right.
you know, it seems like they ought to just go back and.
Gina, did you have enough time to even look at the parking to see if you'd have a better suggestion other than adaptive or something?
I haven't looked at it enough to, they submitted this, I went back with comments and they resubmitted, and then they resubmitted just in time to make it onto the meeting, so I haven't had time to, to
Yeah.
really work with them too much on after the resubmittal.
But they're not recharged every time they do this. Right?
No.
It seems like that there's three issues that I see are the parking, although that may not be part of our deal.
I think it's absolutely
They
part
ought
of
to
our
actually
deal.
send back, they ought
Yeah.
to just redo this and come back.
Yep.
And why does this come before us at this stage? I get lot splits and, replats and zoning, but,
All new commercial developments.
okay.
And this is really multifamily, it's not commercial, but it is in a commercial district, so
Oh, that makes
it's kind of a little gray
Yeah.
there.
Yep. Okay, anybody else have any comments on the board?
Gina, if we vote on this, can we force them to make the changes? Or
Yeah.
say, okay, contingent.
Yeah,
We
you can.
can't mess with the parking. Legally, I don't think we can do that right.
You could
Yeah,
you could
that's
say,
what we-
yeah,
It is
yeah.
stated
You
in
could
the
say that
requirement.
you want them to make sure that they have
I
full
don't
access.
understand that because if it's not in the LDR, what standing do we have?
Well, there's not a specific requirement in LDR, but you could argue the point that you have to have access to be able to get a vehicle in and out.
Then can they rearrange the parking? I mean, looking at this, I'm quite impressed.
They've really maxed the
They
site out.
They have
the
to
way it
change
is.
their design.
Dave, if you remember, we had another one that had issues that, and I don't remember the address, but it went, the road actually went down the side, and we knocked that one away because we were concerned about the people getting boxed in and having a parking issue.
Parking
and that-
issue.
Right.
Yeah, that was down at the very end of like.
Exactly.
39. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is somewhat similar, I think, in the fact that it's, it's a future headache.
But
we
this
need
is
to
on
have.
98, which adds another one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a safety issue too if someone's trying to step out from behind that car to cross the street, so. I feel like we should send it back and personal opinion
Yeah,
is
it's shaded out.
ask them to redo it, relook at it, and come back to us again. And I hate to delay anybody that's trying to build something, but it's easier to get it right up front than it is to try to undo it.
So if we vote it down, will they have to, again, will there be a fee?
If you
No.
vote it down, then they would have to come back with a new plan and a new.
Would they be charged a new fee?
I think they would, because then it would be a whole new submittal. If you table it, then I can
Okay,
just go
so-
back and work with them and say, hey, it's
So
been
table
tabled
it would
because
be
of
the
this.
option.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
good thought. Okay. Does anybody else feel the same or want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we table this.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. And Dave, do you want to follow up just for the record as to why we want to table it with the rear setback, the parking, and the elevation of the three items? This is why we're tabling it.
Yes.
Okay. So that as long as that's in the minutes, at least I know exactly what. Okay, call the roll.
Miss Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Driver,
Yes.
Mr. Masters,
Yes.
Miss Miller.
Yes.
Okay, so work with them, Gina, and see if you can get them where we're all comfortable so we can approve them on the 12th.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I want to add that I hope the public sort of gets the picture when they ask these questions or submit these things. It's been the position of this board, and dozens and dozens and dozens of homes do it right. They never come in here, there's not a meeting, they just follow the rules. And the rules can be followed if they choose to just read what they are, ask your advice, ask your counsel, and then do that.
Yes.
Okay. Subdivision plat request, 101 42nd Street. Jason, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to open the public portion. Do we have a representative?
Yes, sir.
All right. Would you like to tell us what you want to do?
Well, it's Ocean Breeze Cottages on the corner of 42nd and 98 that I developed a couple of years ago. When I did the development, everything was based on the LDR, the residential guidelines, the setbacks, the density, parking. It was all done in accordance with the LDR. So we built the place, we were keeping the units. It was always my intent to be able to sell them one day. Well, that's kind of ideas come up. And I was kind of informed that you would have to go through a replat process and bring it before the board and the council. And I read that and I kind of understand that. So that is the reason why I'm here, is to get that request granted. You know, it was always built, it wasn't a commercial development. I guess the original development order did say it was commercial because it's in commercial, so I guess another one of those gray areas. But when I did it, it was built to the residential following of the LDR as far as 18 units per acre. That's why there's only 8 there. All the setbacks were all done, front, rear, in between. There'll be attachment easements, which I had drawn up before, but when you go to sell them, you would have to have that anyway. That was in the LDR. But I just never sold them. And I'm not saying I'm selling them tomorrow, but I need to get this worked out, you know, in case I want to sell them one day. Me and Gina talked about it. I brought it. She said, this is what you got to do. So we drew up the plat according, you know.
So Adam, you've already got, these are existing structures, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the duplexes, the 4 on 42nd Street and 98.
Okay, and so you're just gonna split them up into 8 lots?
Yeah, the 8 units that are there.
Units.
Yeah, there's 8 units there, so there would be, yeah, there would be a attachment easement, and there would be 8 units, 8 lots. You know, they would have their own legal description.
Okay, how big are the lots? When you were split?
I don't know.
They're like 25, 26 feet by 90.
Yeah, whatever the LDR said, you could do 18 per acre. So that was 8 units on the parcel. So that was kind of, and then once you do the attachment easements, you know, that's the parcel. If somebody was to build back, they got to build back attached to the person next door. So.
Basically, it was one entity on that side, the old hotel,
Yeah.
motel, whatever, and then
And I was-
built those on there, but it met all the requirements. You could have done it back when you started.
Yeah, and I was required to, just a few things so you know, if I could have went back and put a hotel there, and I could have put 20 units, or whatever, with parking, as long as I met LDR standards, and it was approved. So I could have, but I couldn't have sold those units individual because they didn't meet density. Then it became a commercial entity. So like this one, I was required to go to Bay County and buy, and they've already got individual addresses that I had to pay for. They've all got individual water meters that I pay taps for. As far as with it was commercial, we would just have one commercial meter like it was there before. So I don't know. There's something that's written in there, and I seen it. I was explained to, and I needed to bring it before you guys for, I guess, the plat process.
Okay. Does anybody else in the audience have anything, recommendation or any comments? Okay, I'm going to close the public portion and move up to the board. Any comments from the board or any thoughts or any questions?
Yeah, well, this is getting right back into a situation where, God forbid, we have another hurricane. And you've got 8 people sitting here with lots that are 26 feet wide. They're gonna have to build back exactly in that spot, if I understand that correctly. They couldn't.
Yeah, that's what the attachment is, not to interrupt you, but that's something that happened with the hurricane, the stuff that you're seeing, there wasn't an agreement. And when these are sold, because they're adjoined, they have a legal agreement that says you have to attach back. I mean, you have to allow that person, if it's A and B, which there's A and B together, C and D, that agreement is drawn up by my attorney, and when I sell one, tells the people that it's not like, because I've been around this and I've seen what's going on out here. I mean, and it was just so built so long ago that there wasn't legal documentation on file for
Yeah, but I mean, the way I see it, if you've got 8 units and 5 people decide they want to build back and 3 are broke at the time, and that you end up with.
Yeah, the one could, I guess you would get in that situation where one could build back, but that other one that's right next to him, there's an agreement that says at any time during the process, if he sells a lot to anybody or he wants to build back, this guy here has to allow him to attach to that unit. I mean, that's
So it's a party wall agreement is what we.
basically is what I would, is how it's called an attachment easement in the LDR, but it's a party wall.
Okay, so let me clarify, you don't have that existing for this property right now?
There's one, Charles Costin has one drawn up, but you have to,
But you own
I own all of them.
So.
I didn't need to draw it up,
Okay,
but when you sell one, you have to, and it would be, I talked to Gina about it, I could turn one in. Once we're approved, I mean, obviously it says in the LDR that I have to have one anyway.
Okay,
Once I sell.
So even if we had another storm, if you had sold one of these, they would already have that party agreement that they would have to adhere to. So they would know up front
Yes.
what they were buying
It is.
and what they could and couldn't do.
It's filed with the deed when somebody buys it.
Okay, so, I mean,
The one other thing to
Yeah.
understand here is this is commercial property.
Right.
This is not, again, keep in mind, we did the townhome on
right.
tourist residential.
Mhm.
He's not on tourist residential where it
Okay.
becomes a problem with density. He's in tourist commercial, which allows an even higher density. So what he was saying that he has a lower density, he has a lower density. If a hurricane took away his property, you could go back with 28 units to the acre, or a commercial development or anything else.
18, yeah, you could only put 8 under the residential if you're gonna, under that, yeah, but if they all blew away, I could come back to y'all and say, hey, I'd rather build. And that was one of the thoughts before I built those, is, do I build something?
Okay.
Do I build another motel?
Okay, here's my question. Okay, so let's say you sold 1 or 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Then you couldn't go back to commercial at that point because
No.
you would have that party agreement or whatever.
In the
Yeah.
middle, yeah.
The attachment wall would be on, the party wall agreement.
Build commercial there.
You could turn that home into a commercial home.
Yeah, you could turn it into an
You
office.
could turn every one of those, again, that's why I was showing you, it's commercial.
Yeah, so, but if he
All
sells
he's doing is selling it in 8 separate pieces as opposed to one large piece.
But if he sells.
But it's still commercial at the end of the day.
So what can they do in those houses if it's commercial?
Anything.
I mean, they could start a business.
Yeah, parking requirements, yeah.
And it's always been commercial. It wasn't
It's
anything
always
that
been.
we changed.
It's not a change, he's not looking to
Okay.
do a change in
Yeah.
the commercial. It already is commercial. If he wanted to have a newspaper in one, and a real estate office in another, and a doctor's office in another, and a banker in another, and so on and so on, you're allowed to do that today with what you have. You could
I
rent
didn't
it
even think
as,
about that.
but I'm still
again,
going back
the
to,
land allows you all that.
but I'm still back to the same point. If you,
His only thing right now is he can't sell it.
right, but if we do this, you can sell it.
Individual.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
and if you did that, and you sold one, and we had a storm, then that homeowner could come back and build it exactly to the footprint, as long as they had a party wall. And if you decided to take the other units and turn them into a pizza place and whatever, they could do it. Is that correct?
That's right.
I guess you could say that. I never thought of it like that. But I don't plan on.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if y'all. Some of y'all know me, but
I know.
if I go to sell them, I'm putting party wall agreements on every one of them, and they're gonna. I'm not gonna allow something like that.
Well, I understand that, but you know,
Yeah.
one thing we've discovered in the last couple of years is things can change on a dime.
Well,
So
that's.
I'm just trying to figure out if this might be a problem, or whether this is maybe solving a problem in the future.
Well, I think if you,
So,
if it, because that is a good thing, so I think we would just, if you wanted, I mean, I could have the party wall agreements, there's 4 buildings.
Right,
I mean, they could all be drawn up and turned into the city. Because technically the LDR says to sell them, an attachment easement has to be in place.
right.
So if that was a concern for you, I think the best way to protect the city and even me, if something happens to me, to go ahead and give Gina the party wall agreements on the 4 buildings. So we know they're already have an agreement between the 4. There's not going to have to be a hurricane.
Yeah.
Well, one of these got sold and then this one didn't get an agreement recorded, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
Well,
does that make sense? Or am I going?
Can you do that?
With that?
Well, I mean, you can't really record the party wall agreement until you have 2 owners. That's the problem. Is
I can just give it to the city, you know.
I mean, you've given me a draft of it
Yeah.
already. So, I mean, but beyond what he's already given me, I don't know what we can do until he has an owner.
Well, I'm actually the owner, I don't know.
And until you actually have an owner of another one, you know, until
I could
you
go in and-
sell it.
Yeah, that would be, we're getting too
Yeah.
confusing there, because I mean, I could deed each one.
So, Gina, if something, another storm or something, some catastrophe blew away, they could, each individual that owned a unit, they could rebuild without their neighbor.
Correct.
As long as they're in the same spot,
That's correct.
they have the wall and
Yes.
all. Okay.
Okay, as
You
long
don't
as,
have to have a party wall agreement. Party wall agreement is when a builder builds it like that.
Right.
But if this house blew away and this one didn't, you can still build 2 separate walls.
Okay.
okay, as long as we protect in the future, so we don't have to do
Yeah.
so much stuff.
There are 0 lot lines all over cities.
Oh, yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
extremely common thing.
Absolutely.
I realize that, but these past couple of years have gotten pretty sticky.
There's definitely some people that wish that they had a party wall agreement
Oh,
in place.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
we're just trying
So-
to stay ahead of the
Yeah,
curve.
that's all I'm trying to do, is just clarify that this would give them some protection, so that if you sold it, they would know what they were buying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so,
most attorneys these days wouldn't sell one, you know, without.
most,
Might not get-
I mean, they would pick up on it, you know what I mean? They would say, well, but.
I understand, okay. So,
Anything else on this? Okay, do we have any thoughts or motion or?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay. When you're ready. Call roll.
Miss Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Driver,
Yes.
Mr. Masters,
Yes.
Miss Miller.
Yes.
Okay. On to the council. Okay, I don't know anything about this one. Accessory dwelling unit discussion, 206 Virginia.
This was mine.
Ah,
That's me.
Yeah. So this lady here, I forgot what her name is. Ann came in wanting a variance. She's in 206 Virginia. She's in general residential, and she didn't make it to this meeting, but I told her I wanted to bring it up as a discussion point. Currently, the LDR says that you can't. The only way to have an accessory dwelling unit, which is like a mother-in-law suite inside your home under the same roof. And there's certain square footage requirements in the LDR, but it states that you have to meet density on that property. So in general residential, she has a 75 by 100 foot lot.
125.
125.
Yeah.
You can only put one structure there and one unit.
And that's what I'm doing.
Which-
I'm just going up.
But one unit there, which means you can't have an accessory dwelling unit within your home because it would put you over density. My question to you guys is that the intent of the regulations, or am I reading it wrong? It seems like the purpose of the accessory dwelling unit was to give people a place for elderly people to live or whatever, maybe an income situation or something like that within your home. But the way it's written, it seems like it's based on density, and in which case you could go back with a duplex instead of why would you even have an accessory dwelling unit? Why wouldn't you just put a duplex on the property if it was big enough to support the density of two structures? So, did I thoroughly confuse you?
it was,
What constitutes an accessory inside of a home? I mean, is it the fact that it's got its own kitchen or?
It's a separate living quarters, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, living space within the home itself.
Okay, so then could they rent that out?
Sure.
To
Yeah.
B&B or whatever? I mean,
It could be,
Right.
it could be done.
Mine was designed that way with my mother-in-law to my wife, but yes, there's a structure, it's all under the same roof, but it has its own kitchen.
there was a unit exactly like that across from me prior to the storm. And I do know that they had some challenges way back when they did that, but it was a single structure with an apartment or whatever on the first floor and a living unit on the second floor, all under one roof, separately metered, was a requirement that they had to do in order to get that approved back then. So,
But how does I mean, if you separate meter it seems like you're over the general residential one unit.
Yeah, mine's not separate.
well, that's the question I think James has gone through. It was done,
Separate entrance, wasn't it?
yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be a separate
Yeah,
meter for
separate
me.
entrance.
There's an interior entrance and there is a separate side entrance. It's not separate.
So-
What
It's
didn't
one
we
house with two kitchens.
talk about minimum house sizes at one time?
Yeah,
Are
there's
there
no,
some things that we
never approved.
never approved it?
I thought you got a seven.
thought
Yeah,
you
You had a 700-foot minimum.
Yeah.
Really?
There's-
I know we went around and around,
Yeah.
we talked about
I think we
My
did.
understanding is you have a 700.
minimum lot size.
Yeah, but that's for a structure. This wouldn't be, this is within a structure, so this is different.
And
There-
even that meets the requirement because the second level is 900 square feet. So it would still meet the requirement.
Yeah, but there are size restrictions for the accessory dwelling unit itself. But the main question is, do you have to meet density? So if you take a typical 75 by 100 foot lot, you can only put one structure on that. If you're in low density residential, general commercial, or general residential. So my question is do you have to meet density for these accessory dwelling units? If you do, then they're not really allowed anywhere in the city. Unless you have two lots.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, the business, turning your home into a business is renting it out is a problem. I mean, I can understand having my mother or someone living with me and having a separate thing. But if you just open it up and say, I can go out and, add a room on my house and rent it out, I didn't think we could do that.
You can't, and
Well,
this,
there's, the question is about whether or not the accessory dwelling unit is allowed on one lot, on one regular residential lot. Whether, irregardless of if you're renting it or anything, because we can't regulate whether you're renting it or not. When somebody brings in a set of plans and says, my mom's going to live with me. Well,
Yeah.
You could in the future rent that.
So you're
So
talking
what's
about
your-
2 floors and the use of a second one?
what are you zoned?
What
Your
difference
house?
does it?
General residential, I believe.
I think it is either low density or general residential. So you fell into the same situation.
Exactly.
Our home is the same way. I have the downstairs units, so I put those kids down there, don't have to deal with them. And they can cook and they can clean up after themselves. And then we live upstairs.
Exactly. So
And-
it's just like one of the, on Highway 98 is, there's one up there that rents out multiple acres.
And I don't think when we built back, I don't think we didn't have to come and get approval or anything.
Well, now, were you rebuilding something?
Rebuilding.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, that is different.
That's different.
Oh, okay, this
So
is the
this is
unit that's
new.
already,
No, I lost my entire house.
okay.
Right, but you didn't have two units.
No, I had one
Gotcha.
house that was a split level.
Okay, well, ours, we didn't have anything on that lot. Ours was on the back lot and it washed away. So when we rebuilt, we built on our front lot, and that's the way
But
we
you
did
had
it.
2 lots.
Yeah.
We have 2 separate lots.
Yeah, 2
There's-
separate lots.
And that's why she's saying you have 2 separate lots, therefore you've got the right to 2 separate homes.
Right, we do, because ours are small lots though.
Yeah.
Ours
But
are
again,
just
you
teeny tiny.
still have 2
Yeah.
lots.
2 buildable lots. Yeah.
So Gina, they couldn't put a duplex on this lot.
No.
So if you could do a duplex, you could say, what's the difference whether vertically or horizontally? But
Well, and
this
then-
is kind of a duplex horizontally, or vertically, and
Well,
to me,
it's-
it's kind of the same.
So if I don't live in it, I can rent it out.
It's kind of the same but different. It has to be within the same structure. Like the bottom floor of a 2-story house, or top floor, or it can't be connected with like a breezeway or something like that. So the LDR defines accessory dwelling units specifically, differently than duplexes or multifamily or anything else. So that's what I'm trying to come to terms with is,
And as far as an accessory structure, could she build it that way to have the breezeway connecting
no,
the two?
no,
Even though it's less than,
no.
no.
we've looked at some of those.
Do y'all not remember a number of years back the enormous and lengthy discussions that we had about this? I think it would behoove everyone to go back and find those notes and reread them, because this was, we almost had knocked down, drag out fights about this in the meetings. If some of y'all will recall, this is a very sticky issue that quickly disintegrates into, well, if you have that, then what's to stop them from turning it into a rental? I mean, it just got way out of line. You are heading right back down that road. And I think y'all really need to take the time to review what went on back then. I'm trying to remember. It was, of course, it was before the storm.
Right,
Not
I
that
remember
long before the storm.
Yeah. And we had people advertising on VRBO and stuff for
Yes.
those units.
And I see y'all headed right back down that way.
Well, this is my contention, is that build it like this. Basically, if she moves up, she's got 2 apartments. She's got two dwelling units on one lot, and that's a problem.
But would it have, question, it wouldn't have 2 meters.
No,
No, 1 meter.
1 meter.
It doesn't matter if you've got 1 or 2 meters, because if, I'm not saying this lady at all, but if someone did that and just used the other part as a rental, it doesn't matter if you have 1 or 2 meters. You just charge them for the electricity you want to charge them for.
Is it
I mean,
accessible, like from just one floor to the next, like somebody's living downstairs and you can go upstairs and access the other one? Or is it completely
The
closed?
first level has outside stairs that come up. There's also inside stairs and an elevator that will go up. And into the second story, you have to have a key to the elevator to get to the second story.
But if you've got an outside entrance to that second story.
Not to the second story, only to the first.
Okay.
But if it can be sealed off, that's.
Okay, so how are the units separated? If you come in and you're living on the second floor and you're living on the first floor, to get to the second floor, what do you have to do?
You come in at the entryway, put the key into the elevator, take the elevator up.
Okay, so they're totally separate. The first floor that has no connection to that elevator, they don't have a key.
No, they can push a button and go up to the first level only, but to get to the second, they'll have to have a key to get to the second.
Meaning the third kind of, Dave, I think is where you're
Yeah,
going.
because the ground level.
Because they're elevated.
So what's the difference in that and a breezeway?
Well, that's,
You've got a breezeway that's got a motor on it, nothing
Yeah,
else.
yeah, but you can't do this on a breezeway. You have to do it in your structure, within, underneath your roof. That's what the LDR says, is accessory dwelling units have to be within that roof line. So that's why I'm bringing this up, is I want to know, is this a density issue, and is that?
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
it
Okay.
is.
All right.
I think it is.
Okay.
Who can we get to
so
look
if I
at
don't
this?
live in it, I can read it.
double check.
That's what everybody else does.
Lawyer.
I think we need some legal help on this one to see what exactly it says in the LDRs and interpret those.
I don't
For us.
thought it makes not yet. No.
I can bring it up next.
Can we get that before the next meeting so we can talk about,
Yeah,
go
because she
over it
has
again?
applied for a variance to the densities, which will be on the next agenda. She just
Yeah.
didn't make it in time to get advertised for this meeting, but. I
And we
just kinda
appreciate
wanted-
you giving us a heads up ahead of time
Yeah.
so we can keep things moving. That's great.
So are you suggesting it's tabled, or is that what you're saying?
It's not.
Yeah, it's for discussion only.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll get some legal help on this one.
Got it.
And then we'll have it clear for future, which I think is important
Yeah.
on that, so we know.
I just want the option, if I want to rent it out in the summer, rent it out in the summer. That's my only option. And the other thing is I'm a nurse, I can go do travel nursing and rent the whole thing out while I'm gone. There's that option too, because I know the neighbors down on the corner of 4th and Florida, that's what they do. They live out of town. When they're out of town, they rent the entire house out. And it's the same way, it's 2-story.
Well, the entire house rental is different though.
And just to bring up that I've seen a few things, some garage conversions close by me that have been converted and they're rental units now.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's lots and lots and lots.
Yeah, no.
But,
I'm
I
trying to do
mean,
it the legal way.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all I'm trying to do.
but they've turned, just,
Yeah, there are a lot of them real close.
some of them just got to that.
I'm just trying to be above board and do it the right way.
Right. I think the challenge is if you're in a general residential area, that's the challenge, I think, as opposed to another zoning category. But we'll get some legal help and figure it out.
Okay.
Well, I have to interject this, it's basically what you were saying, Bill. We know that the city officials screwed up and did not meet the deadline to exempt Mexico Beach from allowing short-term rentals in residential, and we have been inundated in our residential section because the legislators declared that you could rent short-term rentals in
Right.
residential zoning, and that has created massive problems for those of us who live in residential zoning. We are told that we cannot do something about that legally. But I'm guaranteeing you, most of us who are still here and most everybody before the storm, we are so ticked off at that because there is no point in having residential zoning if you're going to allow short-term rentals in it. I'm not talking about somebody who rents it on a yearly basis. That basically becomes
On my
a resident.
street.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
Mario.
I'm talking about all these people who have done this, and we have turned into tourist residential in residential zoning, and that is not what we bought our properties for. So it remains a problem, and I object to everyone who does that, as well as most of the people I know in residential.
Yeah, well, it's closing the gate after the horse is out, so.
Yeah, because on my street, I bought my house 20 years ago, and the trailer catty corner from my house, they rent out every summer, every week. And it's a double wide trailer, and they rent it constantly. So, I mean, we don't seem to have a problem on our street about it. Nobody complains, everybody's nice, and we're going about our world.
Well, we don't have too many motel alternatives right now.
That's the
either,
point.
so-
That's kind of the point. Is, you know, if you want people to come here to generate the revenue, we have to figure out how a way to do it. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
There's
So,
no point in having
I appreciate you
residential zoning
listening.
if it's not for residents.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else to bring up? Any miscellaneous?
I have one miscellaneous I brought up in Mario earlier on, but the public access at the end of 21st Street.
Okay. To the beach you're talking about?
To which two points to it. One of them, a neighbor, a property owner that lives on the beach, asked me, they're from Tallahassee, they asked if there's a standard when the city puts the sand down to the beach, is there a standard that they have to adhere to in the type of sand that they use? Because right now it's a very yellow, coarse sand. And I brought, this is glass and rocks, and that's what people walk over.
That's, the city did not place that. I'm assuming that that's hurricane debris.
No, it's been, a bulldozer has smoothed it out right there. I don't know whose bulldozer did it, but they brought in sand.
Is that part of the driftwood?
It's right beside the driftwood. It runs beside the driftwood, between the driftwood and the greenhouse, but it's a public access that people walk across the crosswalk and walk that way from all the homes that go down the street. So the person asked me if, when the city brings that dirt in, and I don't know if the city brought that
The
sand
city
in.
didn't bring dirt in,
Sand.
to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
If the city provides beach sand, it has to follow very strict guidelines for beach sand.
That was their point. They said they, as homeowners, had to bring in a specific grade of sand. And they felt it was a double standard if the city brought that sand in that's not the same as theirs. And I told them to come talk to the city, but I don't know if they did or not, but I'm bringing it up.
And what I'll do is I'll talk to the Public Works Department and get them to go out there and sift through the sand to the best of their ability. But that looks like construction / hurricane debris, which we've got a city full of, and we're cleaning up the best we can.
But if we had that scattered up and down the walkways, we would probably pick it up. And that's what this is, the sand walkway.
And yes, since it's in the walkway, I'll get Public Works to go.
Jack, on a positive note, kind of the reverse of that, at the end of my street is where the dredge dumps the sand, so they took all the sand and then ran it down to the Yellow Governor. And in order to get those trucks back there and make them more efficient, they had to put a stabilization base down. The trucks were getting stuck on the sand. So they put that base down, hauled the sand, and then when they were done, I don't know if it was in the contract or the city did it, they took the stabilization out and put the sand back. So they didn't follow exactly what Mario was saying.
They should get the debris from El Governor, not El Governor, but the driftwood. It looks like they just let the debris fall in there.
And I don't know if it's from the driftwood, like Mario said, it might be from the hurricane, it just hasn't been addressed yet. And I don't know if
thought
it's
they
been
would have
treated.
noticed it before now that they're just starting.
But if you go look, you see clearly some new sand has been smoothed down into a pathway that looks very different than what's on either side.
Is that, are these walkovers like he's talking about 21st, is that, somebody owns that property or is the city actually own it?
So most of the streets that lead towards the ocean actually have that same right of way that goes all the way down to the water. Where most of the beach accesses are, again, if you look at on our website, you see how all those purple parcels are split. That's a right of way. So the city has right of way all the way to the water's edge. All of those blocks. So
Just like in the trailer,
From-
the city does.
from, again, 12th Street doesn't go all the way across, but between 12th and 13th, there's a right of way. Between 13th and 14th, there's a right of way. On 14th, there's a right of way. On 15th, there's a right of way. On 16th, there's a right of way. Between 20th and 21st, there's a right of way, and that's the one you're referring to.
And
Is that white piece right there?
crosswalk, and pre-hurricane, there was a flashing light. So it was a significant passageway.
Yeah, we've got a house at the dead end of 20th, right? Is there a house directly over?
There's a house directly at the end of 20th, yes. Or a lot, at least. Like I said, I'll get Tommy's guys to go over and look at it.
So I know there must be a lot of that going on with the sand and stuff, but where there's beach access, like at the end of 38th, there's been a lot of construction, a lot of stuff going on there. Finally finished with those condos, I think. But there's glass and trash and all kinds of stuff in that sand. Is there a plan to clean out the sand in all of those beach access areas? Or is it just get to it as we can, or?
The sand has been cleaned before,
Yeah.
as part of
I
FEMA.
remember them doing that.
Right.
This is all the
What's
Right.
happening?
construction, I mean, that kind
I
of.
think it's just, you know, you just have to keep working at it. You can't magically make it go away. We've got-
But to her
Well,
point,
you know, it's-
I understand, is there a plan?
Yeah,
That's what I think the question is.
Yeah, I just want to know is there a plan, because like I said, the condo complex is finished, and I think that was a lot of it. Not that there's not going to ever be any more construction down there that'll blow in there again, but I think the majority of what will hit there is pretty much done. And there's still, you know, you can't go without shoes there. You have to be real careful. There's all kinds of construction debris and glass and stuff still in there. I was just wondering if there's a plan to hit it.
Any thoughts, Lauren? On the list?
I can tell you that in my lifetime, there's still going to be glass and stuff. I mean, we went through a hurricane, and I can put the most stringent set of specifications together, and there's still going to be construction, glass, and nails. I mean, we went through a hurricane.
Yeah, but that street's become a dump site and everything goes there. It's really, I mean, there are
Dumping
people that are
is
just
a different
dumping.
thing. It's
Okay, just wondered if there's a plan. I thought, yeah.
And the walkover on 14th Street, is there going to be a pathway or walkover there as well?
no.
13th and 15th.
The wooden walkways that we have are the only wooden walkways that we got funding
So can we still utilize our beach access?
for. On 14th Street, you should be able to walk all the way across without a house interrupting 15th Street and 16th Street.
I just wanted to make sure.
I don't know the actual walkway on 14th. I think the walkway is between 13th and 14th.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second. All in favor? Thanks for coming.